And so for our last tank for the next while at the American Heritage Museum just outside of Boston, I keep saying that because, hey, we want to make sure you know how to find this place when it finally opens in the spring. Sofilein has insisted that we do a cute tank.
It's a cute tank. It's a what? It's a cute tank.
I don't know if any self-respecting tank wants to be called cute.
Well, here it is. Look, it's the widow. Look at the widow twax. And there's a widow gunman with the wall.
And in order to come to this M24, you went past the M41, you went past the M551, which are equally light tanks. But no, you come to the M24.
Yeah. So this is another one. This one has its own little place. It has its own...
Stop calling it little. I mean,
okay, everything is relative. Just because it's a small tank doesn't mean it wasn't effective in its role. Not every tank has to be, like, as much as I have to admit it, not every tank has to be some gargantuan, big gun monster rolling around. It's not, we don't play World of Mouse, which is unfortunate. We should get the devs to work on that. But the little tanks, was it weight class challenged, the height challenged. There's the small tanks, Nick. They're small.
I'm just gonna let her keep digging.
I can keep digging a hole and then I'll dig a ladder.
We actually did consider filming the M24 tank from within the M1 because the M1 is just so damn comfortable. But we did decide that for the sake of the filming that we probably should actually come over to the Chaffee. And I still haven't come to a proper answer yet as to whether it's Chaffee or Chaffee, because I've met soldiers in the army who have that last name and they each pronounce it differently. It's like people keep calling me Moran because there is a Spanish name, Moran, which is spelled exactly the same as the Irish name Moran, and yeah, it doesn't work. All right, so M24, towards the end of the war, 75mm gun. They decided they wanted something a bit bigger than the 37 with torsion bar suspension. We're moving up in the world. 2 engines, made by Cadillac. So if you wanted to drive a Cadillac, this is the vehicle for you.
All right.
Lovely and quiet, I have to say. I've driven this thing. It is lovely and quiet. Easy to drive. It's a bit quirky loading, but you get used to that, I guess. So other than the fact that it looks cute, why do you like this tank?
Well, this is just another tank that I think that World of Tanks showed me. Because again, it isn't your King Tiger, it isn't your Sherman, like kind of the classic ones. It's a little bit, again, I have to use the word small, but it has a smaller place in the war. And so you're not gonna see it in the movies. It's not like there isn't any famous duel necessarily, but I think that with World of Tanks showing it off, and it's really fun to play, and so you get engaged and you want to know more about it, so you go and you read and you find it. So
you a couple of months ago, I saw photographs from you. You were off of Fort Benning, and you ran into the T28 and the T29 series and the T23 and a few others.
Yeah.
Which probably a lot of people would not have known existed before World of Tanks.
And they're so cool. Like I would have, if your interest is just World War II, you're not going to find them. Even if your interest is tanks, that information is a little bit tucked away. You gotta kind of be like an academic or an expert in the field to have come across
have a
those.
honeycomb book or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So you kind of have to already be invested at like an academic level to know that those things are around. But World of Tanks kind of brings those and makes it real. I never would have found out, and even if I did find out, if I'd seen something about it, I might not have cared because it's just.
It was interesting when I was giving tours to the museum in California. There was a period of time when all of a sudden people started knowing a whole hell of a lot more about the tanks that we were showing than they ordinarily would have, including these obscure vehicles such as the T series. Not that the M24 is obscure.
Right.
This made a brilliant Sherman during the Battle of the Bulge movie, which was filmed in the Spanish desert in the summer or something.
That movie is not about World War II.
And you ended with Telly Savalas driving a convertible because they removed the top half of the turret and there's Telly Savalas driving along in the battered tank. I think that's what you call suspension of disbelief.
It's a little extra.
But sadly, this little guy didn't have a huge service life. I mean, come the end of the Korean War, that was the end of it. The M41 came out because they just needed a 76. The first, as I recall, the first one of these to see action in Korea was a tank called Rebel's Roost. Now I'm thinking about it. But hey, it's light. I guess you can get it to where it needs to be. But,
it has its roles. It's not going to break bridges like some of the other ones. It's a little bit.
All right. Well, we must of course test the comfort rating.
All right.
In you get.
All righty. Here we go. Let's see. Best way up on this thing.
Well, you got a nice big sprocket wheel. You got the road wheels. There you go.
Yeah. Let's see.
The ones that have the shirts in there, they're nowhere near as easy to climb up on.
Yeah, exactly.
People will say, don't use the gun for support. Well, that mechanical guns.
Too late. It's a tank.
It is a tank. And you were remarking as you came in how comfortable you were.
I'm surprised.
For a light tank particularly.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show, again, people say, oh, you can't make a small tank for big people or whatever. This is fine. Not that you're massively taller than most, but if you're comfortable, I was pretty comfortable.
The layout's just fine.
But again, if you look at the layout of the controls and the sighting systems, you start to see how this tank relates very closely to the one that you were just in from 40 years later.
That's right.
So, I mean, again, you got your two sights.
Right?
So,
Right up in here and right over there.
one for the periscope. And you'll see how that one is actually combined on the left. So if you look into that periscope there, you'll see there's a little telescope on the right side.
Mm-hmm.
So your left eye is basically, if you leave your left eye open and your right closed, you can see wide. And then if you close your left eye and leave your right open, you are now aiming through the magnified sight,
That's right.
through the turret roof.
Cool.
And then if you really want to zoom in, I think that back in the day this was actually the tighter optic for a proper engagement, but the primary was still the one on the left. So you can see how the layout, once you have a good layout, there's no need to change it.
Don't fix what ain't broke.
No. You found your control handles already?
Yep.
Yeah.
Does move.
They do indeed move. And this was a stabilized gun actually, so what you could do is you could detach the gearing system here, and that controller would now control the elevation on the stabilizer system.
Oh.
So, and the stabilizer controls are down here. I'll go over in one of the Inside Hatch videos if you really feel the need to learn how to operate your M24, the proper care and feeding of your tank. It's a bit like a pet rock, is it? It's always faithful. It never will leave you. And
Something like that.
I never did have a pet rock. Kind of predates me, I think. I might give my daughter a pet rock for Christmas. They're feeling cheap.
Yeah, easy, simple layout.
I mean, that said, there's no floor.
Right.
So there might be a footrest. They eventually decided that they needed to install a footrest for the gunner, so to stop his legs from getting chopped off.
Right.
Or her legs from getting chopped off in this case, I guess. I don't see such a footrest, so it looks like this was not suitably modified. And of course the loader, poor bugger, doesn't get anything at all. He's got a seat on that side.
Yeah,
but, it's all the ammunition you can see is in the bins under your feet there. But no, for a light tank, this isn't bad. Oh, look at this.
And we have some French.
So, and this is actually something you'll check today. So the very first one is that the driver's hatches are down. And if you look carefully on the M1, there's actually an override that the turret will not turn unless the driver's hatch is closed. Because we had a small spate of removing drivers' heads from drivers' shoulders. This is kind of the local version of it, and you want to make sure it's clear. That all the people are in their places, again, because you have no footrest.
Right.
And the loader has his seat and wants to make sure that his legs are out of the way. And lever de Terrell, which I think is up. The Veru de Terrell is up. I have no idea what a Veru is on the turret. Sadly, my high school French does not cover. When I was in Afghanistan, I was assigned as a liaison to the French unit there, and that's when I discovered the failings in my French lessons. Is that I found it difficult to talk about artillery fire process in French because, stupidly, my teachers did not teach me the correct terminology to use to an artillery officer in Afghanistan. It didn't work out very well. So
2 out of 3 is pretty good.
yeah. So obviously this must have been one of the French vehicles that was transferred at the towards the end of the war for the French to play with.
For sure.
So all the times I've seen this vehicle, I've never once looked at that plate. So it's every time you get up to a tank, you learn something new.
Something new. Cool. Yes.
So I don't know what you learned new today in your climbing around.
Of course. Always something. Always. Tons.
Name 3.
Just like kind of the interesting looking at the optics and those sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
And then, just being so impressed with, they had an M3 with like a 105 or so in the back in the shop. I'm kind of looking at that.
M3 with a 105. Oh, yeah, no, they got a Sherman with a 105.
No, there's an M3, it's a half track.
Oh!
In the shop in the back.
They do.
Wicked
The
cool.
howitzer version, yeah.
Yeah, so that was super cool. But just kind of looking at like, it's amazing how many, each tank is different, but there's commonalities.
There is.
And some of the commonalities aren't, it doesn't seem common at first, like with the eye. But then they have a similar function, or they have a similar placing, or something like this.
Yeah. Function
And-
follows form.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Or
it's-
form follows function, sorry.
So you have, it's just cool to see all these things, to see the Russian language on the Matilda too was quite cool as well. To kind of make that, oh, that's right, yes, of course, well, the British did do a Lend-Lease program, and this is kind of,
Yeah, and unfortunately, these are the things that you don't see when you come up to a museum, and you really only see. But even I'll always come to a museum, and I will learn something new. And I've been doing this for years, and I like to consider I'm pretty good at it. But you always learn something new by going to a museum.
nothing
So,
replaces
hint,
seeing it. Yeah.
Go to a museum. Further nudge, nudge. This museum, which opens in the spring of 2019, again, just outside of Boston. So we're going in summer holidays. You know where to come. This is right now, I would say, the premier U.S. tank museum. Not that there aren't others. You got, Danville, Virginia. You got Seattle has one. There's the Tankland down in L.A. Heartland Museum of Military Vehicles in Nebraska, which you just discover as you're driving down I-80. Where else did I discover? I was just driving on the. Oh, look, a tank museum. Was it a tank museum or was it an airplane museum? The Strategic Air Command Museum. There's an airplane on a stick, just off I-80. What's that for? That's a very good museum.
Is it?
But you just don't expect it to be there. New one opening up actually next year as well in Dubois. I say Dubois, but it's Dubois or something like that,
Probably something
Wyoming.
like that, yeah.
No offense to anybody from up that way, but keep an eye out for that one.
Yeah, there's a lot of written material out there. There's, of course, World of Tanks and things like that, but nothing replaces seeing it for yourself. Like seeing tanks in the flesh, so to speak.
In the steel.
In the steel, seeing that thickness in the real.
Oh, speaking of, we haven't done the thickness rating on this one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, well, the tank is not very thick, but that's okay. That's all right.
Alright, so this is probably a 7 on the comfort scale. Could do better, could do worse. And how was it? Michael wanted to give this a 12 because he is seated on the turret on the TC's hatch, and in fairness, he looks fairly comfortable up there.
That looks like a very comfortable spot.
Yeah. Probably not what the designers had in mind, but again, it's the ability for the tank to adapt to the circumstance.
That's right. Looking at it for what it is a small tank, but it's very spacious. This is a comfortable tank, especially for being, so small.
Now, a lot of you are probably wondering why the hell we're talking about comfort instead of talking about the fact that this is a 75mm gun that will penetrate X many millimeters of armor. 500. You can look this up for yourself. That's not the purpose of these videos.
Yeah.
Now, we're just here having fun and just discussing, just observations about the tanks. Why are they important to us?
Yeah, like what about
Why is it I always go to a tank museum and I find you?
Well, I think that, like I said, being able to see it yourself, that can be replaced by nothing else. So you can read about it, you can play a game, you can play a simulator, you can hear about it from somebody else. All of those are good things. There's a lot of really good written materials out there. But when you can see it for yourself and it becomes that much more real, then you can take whatever data that you might get and apply it better and better think with it when it's real for you. So being able to come out and see how comfortable is a tank? Well, a tank isn't just a tank that shoots at other tanks and with armor and rouse you and your muzzle velocity. It's not all just about 1v1 tank. It's the human experience. Like you said, how good is a tank depends on its crew. And then what is that crew experience? What is that like? Like that's something to walk away with. And so when you go to a museum and you can see and you can hear those things for yourself, that's the value.
Yeah, and they're going to have the displays out here, the interviews with the crewmen and all that.
Yeah.
It's always a personal perspective. So as I said, I was doing my video in the M1. I was kind of tearing up a little bit as well, but hopefully y'all got some idea of what it's like inside one, just to be part of the team.
You can look at the
It's
schematics all you
fun.
want, but it's not going to give you the story.
No.
Yeah, got to see it for yourself.
All right, so what do you think we should get into next time we come back here? All of them.
Everything.
I strongly suspect that with a collection like this, where almost everything runs, that there will be a day that the American Heritage Museum will actually grace us with a Tank Fest type event.
That'll
I
be
live in hope.
awesome.
In the
Yeah.
meantime, they do have their battles. They run the vehicles, but I would love to see everything on this
museum running one day. It'll never happen.
The only better than seeing it in person is seeing it in motion in person. You can hear those engines and you can feel it.
Well, so these things are they're built to run. They're not built to just sit around and gather dust.
Yeah.
But anyway, we digress. This closing has turned out to be much longer than it was intended. So we're going to part our ways this time, and we will see you when we see you next. So for myself and Sofilein at the American Heritage Museum just outside of Boston, opening in April or May of 2019. See you there.